Shalom and welcome back to Israel with Aline. Today we are in Hebron for a Father's Day special. We are going to visit the tomb of the patriarchs together and learn a little more about the fathers of our faith, Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. So, if you're ready, let's get started. And of course, it wouldn't be a Father's Day special without my dad as well, Jorge.
Well, folks, let me tell you what's happening today. I think I won't have enough heart to share it all with you. We are 35 kilometers from Jerusalem. And I want to share with all the fathers who watch this channel the huge emotion I'm feeling with Lena's invitation. I couldn't have a better gift than this for Father's Day, right, folks?
This is the gift for my dad and for all the fathers who are watching, so let's get started. Hebron is one of the oldest cities in Israel. It was already a major urban center during the Canaanite period. But the first time it appears in the Bible is already in the book of Genesis, when Abraham comes here to the city. But more specifically, I want to talk about Genesis chapter 23. Sarah is going to pass away here in Hebron, which is also called Kiryat Arba. And now Abraham needs a place to bury her. And he starts looking for a place here. And he finds a cave called the Cave of Machpelah. And the land where the Cave of Machpelah was is the one right behind me. The owner of the land was named Ephron, and he was a Hittite. And when he saw that Abraham, who was such an important person, wanted this land, he said to Abraham, "Take it, I will give you the land for free." And Abraham said, "I want to buy it. And not only do I want to buy it, I want to pay the market price. How much does this land cost?" And Ephron said, "It's 400 shekels of silver," which is a lot of money. But Abraham insisted on paying every last cent or every last silver coin. And so he acquired the Cave of Machpelah, where he would bury Sarah. And here besides Sarah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as well as Rebekah and Leah, were also later buried. The only one among all the patriarchs and matriarchs who was not buried here was Rachel. Why? Because she will die giving birth on the way to Ephrath, which is another name for the city of Bethlehem, and her tomb still exists to this day next to Bethlehem. If you want a video at Rachel's tomb, also leave your request here in the comments. But where is the Cave of Machpelah? And what is this gigantic structure that we're seeing here? A little over 2,000 years ago, King Herod built over the Cave of Machpelah. This structure that we're seeing, and it's going to have 2 floors. On the lower floor, people could enter and see the Cave of Machpelah and also see the tombs of the patriarchs. And whoever wanted could also go up to the upper floor, which was an open-air place where people could pray, rest, and also enjoy the space a little. And looking at these stones, they remind us of another very well-known place in Jerusalem. These stones are the same as the stones of the Wailing Wall. We can see how well crafted they are. They're huge in size, and they also have this characteristic frame around them. So let's compare now how these stones look like the stones of the Wailing Wall. That makes a lot of sense, considering that both the Wailing Wall, which was part of the Temple of Jerusalem, and the tomb of the patriarchs were built by King Herodes. And now let's go upstairs, that same floor built by King Herodes, and learn a little more about our patriarchs.
Well, here we are at the original entrance of Herodes' construction, which is absolutely preserved. As you can see in this opening here, the stones are over 20 centuries old. And this gate we're passing through is the same one that people used back in those days.
As my father said, is the building from the time of Herod still preserved? That includes the floor we're walking on. Look at the perfection even after 2,000 years and millions of people who have passed through here. And over time, of course, things were added. So these columns, the walls we're seeing, they're from later periods. But today is a Father's Day special. So the first of our patriarchs, the father of our faith, it's Abraham. And as you can see written here in Hebrew, Sivan Abram Abinv, or the marking of the place of Abraham, our patriarch. In Hebrew, things are much more concise. What happens? The cave is below, but we are now on the upper floor. When Herod built this platform up here, he marked 6 locations. And the marked location, which in this case is this one here, means that below it is the tomb of Abraham. And by the way, the name Abraham, or as we pronounce it in Hebrew, Avram, means father of many nations. The word Av in Hebrew means father, and even today the word Abba is used, which actually means father in Aramaic.
The patriarch Avram is also important in Islam, in Muslim culture. And you can see that, for example, here we have some inscriptions in Arabic from Islam that were placed in the 13th century when the Mamluks were in this region. And here I want to show you the tomb of our matriarch Sarah.
Even though today is Father's Day, we also have to honor our matriarchs, because after all, without them, none of this history would have happened. So inside here, there's another couple. Right behind me, we can see Leah, who, besides being one of the matriarchs, is also the origin of part of the 12 tribes of Israel. So she's back here, and her husband, Yaakov, or as we say in Portuguese, Jacob, is right in front. So let's take a closer look at him too. And Yaakov also had another name. The name Israel is the name he will receive after his struggle with the angel. And we see the connection between the land of Israel, the country, the state of Israel, and Israel, our patriarch. He will be the patriarch who, together with his wives, will give rise to all the 12 tribes of Israel. That's why it makes perfect sense that the 12 tribes of Israel are represented here. For example, we see here Dan, Naphtali, Gad. In other words, on both sides of this cabinet, there are the 12 tribes. But what is it? It is what we call the Aron HaKodesh, the Holy Cabinet, because inside it we have what is most special to us, which is the Bible itself. The Torah scrolls are kept here, as you can see. And the Torah is the most important book, which is the first 5 books of the Bible. And every Monday, Thursday, and Saturday, which are the days when the Torah is read, we're going to close it now because it's not the right moment, but the scrolls are taken out and placed on this table. Now, this cabinet is in this direction because the prayers are made facing here. Why? It's not because of Leah in this case, but because of Jerusalem. Jews all over the world, no matter where they are, will pray facing the direction of Jerusalem. And those who are in Jerusalem will pray facing the place where the Temple of Jerusalem used to be. Jerusalem is the most important city for Judaism. And the second most important is where we are today, the city of Hebron. And then there's also Tiberias and Tzfat. And now we still need to see Isaac and Rebekah where they are. They are back here behind these curtains, but if we look, it's closed, it's locked. Look at the size of this lock. Why? Because Hebron is a divided city. We'll talk a little more about that in a moment. But the tomb of the patriarchs itself is also divided. The 2 couples we've seen so far are on one side under the control of the state of Israel and accessible to Jews and Christians. And the other side, where Isaac and Rebekah are, is accessible only to Muslims. There are a few days each year when that side is accessible to us, and there are also a few days each year when this side is accessible to them. But for most of the year, it's as you see, with these doors closed. And now I imagine that all of you are dying to go downstairs and see the original caves where they are actually buried, and not just the markers here on the upper floor. And to be honest, I'm also dying to go down there. What's happening? The land of Israel was under Muslim rule for centuries, and when they controlled this place, they closed off access to the lower floor. So for centuries, no one has been able to go down and see the tombs themselves. And I imagine you must be dying to go in there just like I am. And just like Moshe Dayan did too. Moshe Dayan was a key figure in the Six-Day War. And in the 6 days in 1967, when Israel reconquered this place, he decides we have to go downstairs and see what's down there to reunite with our patriarchs. But the Muslims, since they also have a part of this place, said no, absolutely no one is going to open it. So Moshe Dayan and a few other people decide to secretly go downstairs. And how did they do that? In 1968, they found a little door that led downstairs, but the door was too narrow for an adult to enter. How are you going to get in? That has to be done in the dead of night, in a secret way, through a door that an adult can't fit through. So a young girl, a 12-year-old named Mikal, she volunteers. So they open the little door, she goes down to the lower floor, and she finds a huge corridor, 17 meters long, in total darkness, everyone, and she walks all the way to the end, she goes down some steps, and then she comes across a huge stone. And obviously she didn't have the strength to move that huge stone. She goes back and tells Moshe Dayan what she found, and it's written down and known that besides the entrance being small, there's a huge stone down there that doesn't allow entry into the cave. And the story stays like that until 1986, when the next secret explorers arrive here. These new explorers discover that there's a slightly bigger entrance, but it's on the Muslim side, which nowadays is under Muslim control, and there was no chance the Muslims would let them in. Not even secretly. What do they start to do? They decide to go pray every day at midnight, and day after day at midnight they go to pray. And the Muslim guards had to stay there since they went to pray. And on the first day, they go there and stand guard until dawn, on the second day, on the third day. After weeks, the Muslim guards say, look, we don't have the patience to stay up here all night anymore, and they leave and go to sleep. And then they have the opportunity, and then they go down, and now they already know there's the tunnel, the stairs like Michal said, and the stone. And now these men who go down, after a lot of effort, start to move this stone and manage to enter the cave. And they see the cave of the patriarchs, and they manage to bring the little ceramic pots they find. Guys, how old were the little pots they found? 2,900 years. Does that mean it's practically from the time of King David and King Solomon? This really shows us that this place hasn't been known only since the time of King Herod, but from much earlier. And thanks to these rather brave adventurers, we can be sure that down here is really the cave of Machpelah. And even though we can't enter it nowadays, we are walking on stones from 2,000 years ago, and we are just a few meters away from our great fathers of faith, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, as well as our matriarchs, Sarah, Rebecca, and Leah, and Rachel. We will visit her another day as well. But I want to continue and show you a little more of Hebron, because there are many wonderful biblical stories here. So let's continue our tour.
Guys, we are going to a very interesting archaeological excavation site. But before Aline explains it to us, I want to make a Father's Day request to you. I want everyone who's watching to subscribe to the channel Israel with Aline.
Thank you, Dad. So where are we in the archaeological excavations of Tel Hebron, the oldest part of the city that has been excavated? How old? This room that we are in now is part of a house that is 4,500 years old, from the Canaanite period, before Abraham and the patriarchs came to the city. So here was a house, down here was also the street from the Canaanite period, and right over there is that really big wall, was the city wall, which means that Hebron literally began right here 4,500 years ago. But now I want to talk about another person who lived here, and more than that, he also ruled here. I'm talking about King David. The first 7 years of his reign were here in the city, and then he moved the capital to Jerusalem, where it remains to this day. Now let's take a look at something from the time of David. And it's right here. If we look down, we see a hole. This is a silo. A silo is where grains are stored. So here they used to store grains for the population of Hebron about 3,000 years ago, which is the time when King David lived. And I see something really cool over there from another biblical story, so let's keep going. Look what I found. I found a grapevine, and more than that, it's full here. Look, guys, there are even some grapes falling, and this reminds us of another biblical story that happened here with Joshua and Caleb, who maybe some of you said were spies, but not exactly spies. The Bible doesn't say they were meraglim, that they came to spy, but rather that they came to latur. Latur is the Hebrew word for strolling or exploring. So they came to explore the land of Israel and come back to tell what they saw, kind of like tour guides. We still use this expression in Hebrew today, latur or letael et aretz. So we have a special connection here with this place and with this story, since I am a tour guide here in Israel, and we consider them maybe the first tour guides here in Israel. That's also why this is the symbol of the Ministry of Tourism of Israel to this day. We saw over there that grapes are still produced to this day, but in ancient times they also made grape juice and wine, like this equipment behind me that my father is now going to show you.
Look, they would put the grapes here and stomp them with bare feet to make the wine that has been so traditional all this time.
And here we finish our tour and our Father's Day special. So happy Father's Day.
Thank you very much, my daughter. To everyone who is watching us,